Every second you spend comparing yourself to someone else is a second you could be investing in your own growth. How many times have you caught yourself comparing your life to someone else's? Maybe you've looked at someone's career, their relationship, or their achievements and thought, why don't I have that? Why am I not as far along as they are? It's a common feeling. In a world where everyone's highlight reel is right at our fingertips, it's easy to feel like you're not measuring up. But here's the truth. Comparing yourself to others is a trap. It doesn't help you move forward, and it certainly doesn't make you feel good about yourself. What if I told you that your journey is unique, and that your progress is the only thing that truly matters? What if you could stop looking at others and start focusing on your own path? In today's video, we're going to talk about the dangers of comparison and why it's time to stop measuring your success based on someone else's timeline. You'll learn how to break free from the constant cycle of comparison, embrace your own growth, and realize that your journey is more than enough. Stick with me, because what we're going to cover today will help you shift the way you see yourself and the way you approach your life. No more doubting your worth based on someone else's life. You're about to discover how to reclaim your peace, confidence, and focus by simply learning to trust your own process. So if you're ready to stop comparing and start embracing your own path, this video is for you. Let's get started. Number 1. The danger of comparison. Comparing ourselves to others has been around for as long as we can remember. It's something that many of us struggle with on a daily basis. We look around at others and we think, why don't I have what they have? Why am I not as successful? Why am I not as confident or happy? And before you know it, you're measuring your worth against everyone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their best moments. And it's something that will rob you of your happiness, your energy, and your potential if you let it. Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by others. With looking at someone's success and saying, I want that. Inspiration can drive us to better ourselves. But when we fall into the trap of comparison, when we start believing that our worth is determined by what others are doing, that's when the danger begins. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you looked at someone else's success and felt less than? When did you find yourself scrolling through social media, seeing the highlight reel of someone else's life, and feeling like you were falling behind? Maybe it was a friend who just got a promotion, or someone you admire who seems to have everything together. Maybe it's someone's fitness journey, or their seemingly perfect relationship. You look at them and think, why don't I have that? Why am I not as far along in life as they are? You start to doubt yourself. You wonder if you're doing something wrong. You begin to question your path. But here's the thing. You can't compare your journey to someone else's. You just can't. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's timing is different. Everyone's story is different. And when you try to compare your journey to someone else's, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're also doing them a disservice, because you're missing the point entirely. We all have different goals, different dreams, and different values. What success looks like for one person won't look the same for another. And that's perfectly okay. The only thing that matters is that you are on your own path. You are doing the best that you can with what you have right now. When you're constantly comparing yourself to others, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not because they are ahead of you, but because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to focus on your own progress. When you compare, you get distracted. You start chasing after things that aren't even yours to chase. You stop moving forward because you're too focused on where someone else is. You forget to celebrate your own wins because you're too busy measuring them against someone else's. You rob yourself of the joy that comes with progress, no matter how small, because you've attached your worth to someone else's achievements. This kind of comparison creates a sense of lack. You begin to think, I'm not enough. You look at where you are and think it's not good enough because you're comparing it to someone else's place in life. But here's the truth. You are enough. Right where you are. Right at this moment, you are enough. You are exactly where you need to be, and you are making progress at your own pace. You don't need to rush to catch up with anyone else. You don't need to compete with others. All you need to do is focus on your own growth. I want you to think about your own life for a moment. Think about the things you've accomplished. Think about the hard work you've put in. Think about how far you've come. Even if it doesn't feel like a lot, I promise you've made progress. It doesn't matter if someone else has done it faster or in a different way. Your progress is your progress. It's unique to you. You are exactly where you need to be, and you are constantly evolving. But the key here is to stop measuring yourself against others. Stop looking to the left and right and wondering if you're doing it right. Stop worrying about whether someone else has more or is doing better. They're on their own journey, and you're on yours. Your success doesn't depend on anyone else's timeline. It depends on you showing up for yourself every single day. It depends on you putting in the effort, learning from your mistakes, and continuing to grow. You've probably heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, the same goes for people. You can't judge someone else's journey by what you see on the outside. What you see on social media or in the news or in your friend group isn't the full story. It's easy to look at someone else's life and think they have it all together. But the reality is, everyone has their own struggles. Everyone has their own challenges. Just because someone else's journey looks smoother doesn't mean they're not facing obstacles behind the scenes. And just because your journey doesn't look like someone else's doesn't mean it's wrong. Your journey is yours to embrace. You don't need anyone's approval or validation to keep moving forward. You don't need anyone's permission to succeed at your own pace. You don't need anyone else's permission to be happy, to be confident, to take care of yourself, to grow. Your success, your happiness, your peace, they all start with you. And the only thing you need to measure is your own progress. If you can look at yourself and say, I'm doing the best I can and I'm moving forward, that's all that matters. When you let go of the need to compare, you free yourself. You free yourself from the worry of what others think. You free yourself from the fear of not measuring up. You free yourself to be yourself. And when you can do that, when you can stop comparing and start focusing on your own growth, that's when things truly start to change. That's when you begin to experience the peace and confidence that comes with knowing you're on the right path. And let me tell you, when you stop comparing and start focusing on your own journey, life becomes so much easier. Because you can look at your own progress, see how far you've come and celebrate that. You can appreciate your own uniqueness and realize that your journey is exactly what it's meant to be. So today I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to let go of the need to compare. Let go of the pressure to measure yourself against anyone else. Instead, focus on your own path. Celebrate where you are. Celebrate how far you've come and keep moving forward at your own pace, with your own goals. Because your journey is yours and no one can take that away from you. You are enough, just as you are, and you are on the right path. Keep going. And remember that your progress is the only thing that matters. Your success doesn't depend on anyone else. It depends on you. Keep growing, keep evolving, and keep moving forward. The best is yet to come. Number 2, focus on progress, not others. Let me tell you something that will change your life if you truly understand it. Stop worrying about what others are doing. Stop focusing on their progress, their achievements, their timeline. The only thing that truly matters is your own progress. That's it. Not where someone else is, not how fast they got there. Just you, getting better every single day. But I know it's easier said than done. We live in a world where it's almost impossible to not compare ourselves. You wake up, and before you've even had a chance to think about your own goals, you're already seeing what everyone else is doing. Social media, conversations with friends, even walking down the street, you're constantly reminded of where other people are in life. And if you're not careful, that habit of looking around will steal your focus, your confidence, and your energy. I've seen this happen too many times. People get so caught up in comparing themselves to others that they forget to look at their own progress. They don't realize how much they've improved because they're too focused on someone else's results. They don't appreciate their own journey because they're too busy trying to match someone else's timeline. They get discouraged, frustrated, and sometimes even give up because they feel like they're not good enough. But let me tell you something important. Your journey is yours alone. Your growth, your success, your timeline, it's unique to you. And the moment you stop focusing on other people and start focusing on yourself, everything changes. Think about this. When you started anything in life, whether it was a skill, a career, or even a personal goal, you were at level 1. Everyone starts at 0. No one is born an expert. No one wakes up successful overnight. Progress takes time. And the only way to truly move forward is to focus on your own growth, not someone else's results. Every time you compare yourself to someone ahead of you, you forget that they once started where you are. Every time you feel like you're behind, you ignore how far you've already come. Every time you doubt yourself because someone else seems to be doing better, you lose sight of what really matters, your own improvement. Success isn't about being the best, it's about becoming better than you were yesterday. If you improve today, even in the smallest way, that's progress. And progress, no matter how small, adds up over time. But you know what stops people from making progress? Looking at everyone else. When you constantly compare, you waste energy that could be spent on your own growth. Instead of working on your goals, you're busy thinking about why someone else is ahead. Instead of celebrating your own wins, you're frustrated that someone else has more. Instead of pushing yourself forward, you're stuck in a cycle of doubt and insecurity. And the worst part, you're comparing yourself to an incomplete picture. You don't see the late nights, the sacrifices, the failures someone else went through to get where they are. You're only seeing the outcome, not the struggle. And because of that, you're setting yourself up for frustration. So here's what you need to do. Stop looking around. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's life. Stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you. Focus on your own path, your own goals, your own journey. Every day ask yourself one question. Am I better than I was yesterday? That's all that matters. If the answer is yes, even in the smallest way, you're moving in the right direction. If you worked a little harder today than you did yesterday, that's progress. If you learned something new, that's progress. If you kept going when you wanted to quit, that's progress. And let me tell you something. Progress is what leads to success, not comparison, not competition, not trying to keep up with someone else. Just daily, consistent improvement. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to rush. You don't have to match anyone else's pace. Just wake up every day and focus on being a little better than you were yesterday. That's how you win. That's how you grow. That's how you build a life that truly fulfills you. Because at the end of the day, when you focus on your own progress, you stop feeling like you're behind. You stop feeling like you're not enough. You stop worrying about things that don't matter. And instead, you start feeling proud of yourself. You start feeling motivated. You start enjoying the journey. And that's what life is about. Not racing against others, not constantly comparing, but growing into the best version of yourself, one step at a time. Number 3. The power of self-awareness. Self-awareness. You see, the reason so many people struggle with comparison, the reason they feel stuck, the reason they doubt themselves, is because they don't actually know who they are. They don't take the time to understand themselves. They don't ask the right questions. They don't sit down and say, what do I really want? Instead, they look around and assume that what everyone else has must be what they need too. But that's not how life works. If you don't know yourself, you will always feel lost. You will always feel like you're behind. You will always feel like you're not good enough. Not because you're actually behind, but because you're following the wrong path. You're chasing things that don't even matter to you. And when you chase something that isn't meant for you, it will never feel fulfilling, no matter how much you achieve. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat down and really thought about what makes you happy? Not what society says, not what your parents want, not what your friends are doing. What do you want? Most people can't answer that question. They never ask themselves. They're too busy looking around, comparing, trying to fit in, trying to measure up to some invisible standard. But when you don't know yourself, you will always feel like something is missing. The truth is, self-awareness is one of the most powerful things you can develop. When you truly understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your purpose, you stop being distracted by what other people are doing. You stop caring about their success, their journey, their timeline. You stop feeling like you have to keep up. Instead, you start focusing on your own life. You start making choices that actually make sense for you. Let me tell you, the moment you become self-aware, comparison loses its power over you. Because when you know exactly who you are and where you're going, you stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. You don't feel the need to compete because you're too focused on your own progress. You don't feel insecure because you know your own strengths. You don't feel left behind because you know that your journey is different from everyone else's. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone who just seems completely confident in themselves? Someone who isn't trying to prove anything to anyone. Someone who doesn't care what people think. That's not arrogance. That's self-awareness. That's someone who knows exactly who they are and what they want. And because of that, they don't waste time comparing themselves to anyone else. But here's the thing. Self-awareness doesn't just happen overnight. It's something you have to work on. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to take time to reflect, to understand your strengths and weaknesses, to figure out what truly matters to you. And most importantly, you have to stop living for other people. Most people spend their entire lives trying to impress others. They buy things they don't need to look successful. They chase careers they don't even like because they think it will make them respected. They make choices based on what will make them look good instead of what will make them happy. And then they wonder why they feel unfulfilled. The moment you start living for yourself instead of for the approval of others, your life changes. Suddenly you don't feel pressure to keep up. You don't feel like you're constantly falling behind. You don't feel the need to compare, because now you're on your path. You're doing what makes sense for you. And let me tell you something. When you live with that kind of clarity, life becomes so much more fulfilling, because now every step you take actually matters. Every goal you set is meaningful. Every decision you make is based on what's truly important to you, not on what looks good to others. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to stop and reflect. You have to be willing to stop chasing things just because everyone else is chasing them. You have to be willing to ask yourself, what do I actually want? And you have to be honest with the answer. Self-awareness is not about having everything figured out. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing who you are, what you value, and where you're going. It's about making choices that align with your own purpose, instead of trying to follow someone else's path. So if you want to stop feeling like you're behind, if you want to stop struggling with comparison, if you want to truly start living life on your terms, start by getting to know yourself. Start by asking the right questions. Start by focusing on what actually makes you happy instead of what looks good on the outside. Because once you become self-aware, once you truly understand who you are, everything changes. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling pressured. You stop caring about the things that don't matter. And instead you start living with confidence, with purpose, with clarity. And that, my friend, is how you create a life that is truly fulfilling. Number 4, comparison creates fear and doubt. Fear and doubt. These two things have stopped more dreams, killed more ambitions, and ruined more potential than anything else in life. And do you know where most of that fear and doubt come from? Comparison. You see someone else succeeding, and suddenly you start questioning yourself. You see someone else doing what you want to do, and immediately you start thinking, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if I don't have what it takes? And before you know it, you're stuck. Not because you don't have the ability, not because you don't have the potential, but because you let fear and doubt creep in and take control. But here's something you need to understand. Fear and doubt are not real. They are thoughts, nothing more. They only have power over you if you believe them. And the moment you stop feeding them, they lose their grip. Now think about this. When you were a child, fear wasn't something that held you back the way it does now. When you were learning to walk, did you doubt yourself? No, you fell down. You got back up. You tried again. You didn't sit there thinking, maybe walking isn't for me. No, you just kept going. But as we grow older, we start listening to doubt. We start paying attention to what people think. We start worrying about how we compare to others. And that's when fear starts to take over. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with fear and doubt is because they're looking in the wrong direction. They're too busy watching what everyone else is doing, instead of focusing on their own path. They see someone else succeeding and think, I could never be that good. They see someone else moving faster and think, maybe I'm just not talented enough. But what they don't see is the struggle, the failures, the moments of doubt that person had to go through to get there. You see, no one starts out confident. No one starts out fearless. Every successful person you admire has had moments where they doubted themselves. Every single one. The difference is, they didn't let it stop them. They kept going. They took action despite the fear. That's the key. If you want to overcome fear and doubt, you can't wait for them to disappear. You can't sit around hoping that one day you'll wake up and suddenly feel ready. It doesn't work like that. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. You take action, and then confidence follows. Think about anything you've ever gotten good at in life. When you first started, were you confident? No, you probably made mistakes. You probably felt awkward. You probably questioned yourself. But you kept going, and over time, you got better. And as you got better, your confidence grew. The same thing applies to everything in life. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're not supposed to feel confident right away. You're supposed to start, despite the fear, despite the doubt. And as you take action, as you make progress, as you prove to yourself that you can do it, the fear starts to fade. But let me tell you something important. Fear will never fully go away. And that's okay. The goal isn't to get rid of fear. The goal is to not let it control you. Every time you step into something new, every time you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, fear will be there. But the difference between successful people and those who stay stuck is that successful people move forward anyway. They feel the fear, but they don't listen to it. They hear the doubt, but they don't let it stop them. They understand that fear is just a sign that they're growing, that they're pushing themselves, that they're stepping into something greater. And that's how you have to start thinking. Every time you feel fear, remind yourself, this is proof that I'm growing. This is proof that I'm stepping into something bigger. And instead of letting that fear hold you back, let it push you forward. But here's something even more important. If you want to truly overcome fear and doubt, you have to stop feeding them. And one of the biggest ways people feed their fear is by constantly comparing themselves to others. Every time you look at someone else and think, I'm not as good as them, you're making your fear stronger. Every time you doubt yourself because someone else is further ahead, you're making your doubt stronger. You have to break that habit. Stop looking around and start looking within. Stop worrying about how you measure up to others and start focusing on your own progress. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that you're growing, that you're improving, that you're moving forward. And let me tell you something. If you do that, if you focus on your own journey instead of comparing yourself to others, your confidence will grow. You will start to believe in yourself. You will start to trust yourself. And most importantly, you will start to take action, despite the fear, because that's the only way to win. You don't wait for fear to disappear. You don't wait for confidence to magically appear. You take action. You do the work. You prove to yourself that you are capable. And when you do that, fear and doubt lose their power over you. So if you're struggling with fear right now, if you're doubting yourself, if you feel like you're not good enough, stop looking at everyone else. Stop comparing yourself. Stop feeding the doubt, and instead start focusing on what you can control. Take one step forward, no matter how small. Do one thing today that pushes you out of your comfort zone, and then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Because that's how you build confidence. That's how you silence doubt. That's how you break free from fear. Not by waiting, not by overthinking, but by taking action. And once you start moving forward, once you stop letting fear control you, once you stop comparing yourself to others, and start focusing on your own growth, everything changes. You start to see what you're really capable of. You start to realize that you were never as limited as you thought. You start to understand that the only thing that was ever holding you back was your own mind. But now you're in control. Now you're making progress. Now you're finally stepping into the person you were always meant to be. And that, my friend, is how you win. Number 5. The freedom of embracing yourself. There is nothing more powerful, nothing more freeing than fully embracing yourself. Yet so many people spend their lives trying to be someone they're not. They try to fit in. They try to meet other people's expectations. They try to mold themselves into something they think will be accepted, respected, or admired. And in the process, they lose themselves. They forget who they are. They stop listening to their own voice and start living for the approval of others. But let's be real. Trying to be someone you're not is exhausting. It drains you. It makes you feel like you're never enough, because no matter how hard you try, no matter what you achieve, it will never feel like it belongs to you. That's the problem with living for other people. You could have all the success in the world, but if it's not what you truly want, if it's not coming from a place of authenticity, it will never bring you peace. You've got to understand something. There is only one you. No one else has your exact story. No one else has your perspective. No one else has your unique gifts. And the moment you embrace that, the moment you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, that's the moment your life truly begins. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if people don't accept me for who I am? What if I lose friends? What if I disappoint people? Let me ask you something. What's the alternative? Living a life that isn't yours. Waking up every day pretending to be something you're not just to make other people happy. That's not living. That's a slow death. The truth is, you are going to lose some people when you start being yourself. That's just part of the process. Not everyone is meant to walk with you on your journey. But let me tell you something even more important. When you start being yourself, when you start living in a way that is true to you, you will attract the right people. You will attract people who respect you for who you are, not for who they want you to be. You will attract people who lift you up, not people who drain you. And most importantly, you will finally feel at peace because you're no longer living a lie. So many people are afraid to be themselves because they think they won't be enough. They think they need to be more like someone else. Look a certain way, act a certain way, achieve a certain level of success before they can be accepted. But the irony is, the people who are the most successful, the most fulfilled, the most at peace, are the ones who had the courage to be themselves. They didn't try to fit in. They didn't try to be like everyone else. They embraced who they were, flaws and all. And they built their lives around that. You've got to make a decision. Are you going to live your life trying to be what others expect? Or are you going to step into who you really are? Because let me tell you something. There is nothing more powerful than a person who has fully embraced themselves. When you walk into a room with confidence, when you speak with authenticity, when you live in a way that aligns with your values, people notice. You don't have to try to impress anyone because your presence alone commands respect. And let's talk about the other side of this. When you refuse to embrace yourself, when you live in constant fear of what people think, you give away your power. You let the world dictate your value. You let outside opinions control your happiness. And that's no way to live, because no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to please everyone. There will always be people who don't understand you. There will always be people who judge you. There will always be people who have something to say. But here's the secret. None of that matters. What matters is how you feel about yourself when you're alone. What matters is whether or not you can look in the mirror and be proud of the person staring back at you. Because at the end of the day, no amount of outside approval can replace self-respect. I want you to ask yourself something. When was the last time you truly felt like yourself? When was the last time you did something because you wanted to, not because you felt pressured by someone else? When was the last time you made a decision without second guessing whether or not people would approve? If you can't remember, that's a problem, because life is too short to spend it pretending. It's time to take back control. It's time to stop worrying about who approves of you and start focusing on whether or not you approve of yourself. It's time to stop comparing, stop conforming, stop trying to be something you're not. Because the moment you embrace who you truly are, everything changes. You feel lighter, you feel stronger, you feel free. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop seeking validation. You stop being afraid to take up space. And you start living with confidence, with clarity, with purpose. Because now, you're not living for anyone else. You're living for you. And let me tell you, when you reach that place, nothing can shake you. You stop caring about meaningless opinion. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop feeling like you need to prove anything to anyone. Because now, you understand that your worth was never something that needed to be earned. It was always there. You just had to see it for yourself. So if you're struggling to embrace yourself, if you're tired of pretending, if you're tired of feeling like you're not enough, let this be your wake-up call. You don't need to be anything other than who you are. You don't need to change to be accepted. You don't need to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. You are already enough. But you have to believe it. You have to own it. You have to stop waiting for permission and start living on your terms. Because when you do, when you fully embrace yourself, when you step into your own power, that's when life truly begins. Number 6. The illusion of social media and appearances. Social media. It's everywhere. It's part of your daily routine. You wake up, check your phone. You take a break, check your phone. You're lying in bed at night, scrolling one more time before you go to sleep. It's become a habit, almost automatic. But have you ever stopped to think about what it's doing to you? You see, social media is like a window, but it's not a clear one. It's filtered. It's controlled. It's designed to show you what people want you to see, not what's actually real. You're looking at someone's highlight reel, their best moments, their biggest wins, their happiest days. But what you don't see is the struggle behind it. You don't see the failures, the insecurities, the late nights filled with doubt. You don't see the pressure they feel to keep up the image they've created. And here's the problem. When you compare your life to their life, you're not comparing reality. You're comparing yourself to an illusion. Think about this. You're scrolling, and you see someone posting about their new car, their new house, their perfect relationship. And what happens? For a moment, you feel like you're not doing enough. Like maybe you're behind. Like maybe you're not as successful as you thought. But let me tell you something. That feeling, it's not based on truth. It's based on perception. Because you don't know the full story. That person with the new car, they might be drowning in debt. That couple posting their perfect vacation photos, they might have been arguing the whole time. That person with 1 million followers, they might feel lonelier than ever. But you wouldn't know that because social media doesn't show the full picture. It only shows what people want you to see. And that's why it's so dangerous to base your self-worth on what you see online, because it's not real. And when you compare yourself to something that isn't real, you're always going to feel like you're falling short. You've got to remind yourself your journey is yours. You're not on anyone else's timeline. You're not in a race with the people you follow. You don't have to have what they have. You don't have to do what they do. Your life is unfolding in its own way, at its own pace. And the more you focus on what other people are doing, the less you focus on what actually matters. Your own growth, your own happiness, your own goals. I want you to think about something. Before social media, before all these platforms existed, how did people measure their success? They focused on their own progress. They set goals for themselves. They worked on becoming better than they were yesterday. But now people are constantly measuring themselves against strangers on a screen. And that's a problem. Because when you live for comparison, you'll never feel like you're enough. It's time to take back control. It's time to stop letting what you see online dictate how you feel about yourself. Because here's the truth. Nobody has it all figured out. Nobody has a perfect life. And if you spend your time chasing a version of success that isn't even real, you'll miss out on the real success, becoming the best version of yourself. So what can you do? First, start being more intentional about what you consume. If something makes you feel bad about yourself, unfollow it. If you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture or just the part they want me to see? Second, spend more time focusing on your own life. Set real goals for yourself, things that actually matter to you. Not things that look good online, not things that impress other people, but things that make you proud. Because at the end of the day, that's what really counts. And lastly, remind yourself daily that social media is not reality. It's entertainment. It's a tool, but it should never define your worth, who you are, what you've accomplished, what you're capable of. None of that is determined by likes, followers, or someone else's posts. You are already enough. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. And the moment you stop comparing, the moment you start focusing on your own journey, that's the moment you truly start living. Number 7, becoming the best version of yourself. But let's be real here for a second. It's not easy. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not some magic moment where everything just clicks into place. It's a process, a journey that requires you to constantly evolve, to work on yourself, and to push past the obstacles that are going to show up along the way. But here's the thing. The reward is worth it. The journey to becoming the best version of yourself is one of the most fulfilling paths you can walk. The first thing you have to realize is that becoming the best version of yourself isn't about being perfect. It's not about reaching some idealized version of who you think you should be. It's about growth. It's about progress. It's about getting a little bit better every single day. No one is perfect. And if you're waiting to be perfect before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. Perfection isn't the goal. Improvement is. And that's where so many people get stuck. They think that if they're not perfect, they're not good enough. They think they have to have it all figured out before they start. But the truth is, no one ever has it all figured out, and that's okay. Life isn't about waiting until you have everything in order. It's about making progress. Even when things feel uncertain, it's about showing up every day. Even when you don't have all the answers. Here's the thing. If you're always waiting for the perfect moment to start, or the perfect version of yourself to show up, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. You're going to waste time. Because the truth is, the best version of yourself doesn't just appear out of nowhere. You create it. Every decision you make, every action you take, every mistake you learn from, those things shape the person you're becoming. And the more you show up for yourself, the closer you get to becoming the person you want to be. So where do you begin? It starts with self-awareness. You need to take a hard look at where you are right now and be honest with yourself about what you want and what you need to work on. Becoming the best version of yourself isn't about ignoring your flaws. It's about recognizing them and working on them. It's about seeing where you are and making the conscious decision to get better. Self-awareness is key because it helps you identify what's holding you back. It helps you recognize the areas of your life where you need to grow. And once you know where you need to improve, you can start taking the steps to do it. Maybe you need to work on your confidence. Maybe you need to develop better habits. Maybe you need to start focusing on your health, or your mindset, or your relationships. Whatever it is, self-awareness is the foundation that allows you to take action. Let me tell you something. It's not going to be easy. If it were easy, everyone would be the best version of themselves already. But that's not how life works. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be days when you feel like giving up. There are going to be setbacks, but that's where resilience comes in. The best version of yourself isn't someone who never struggles. It's someone who keeps going, even when it gets hard. It's someone who picks themselves up after every fall and keeps moving forward. Resilience is one of the most powerful qualities you can develop. It's the ability to keep going when the road gets tough, to keep pushing when things aren't going your way. And here's the thing. Resilience doesn't mean you never feel down. It doesn't mean you don't get discouraged. It means that when you do feel down, you don't stay there. You get back up. You keep moving. You keep growing. And let me remind you, becoming the best version of yourself isn't about doing it all at once. It's about taking small, consistent steps every day. It's about focusing on the things that truly matter to you and making a commitment to improve them. The little things add up. They compound over time. You don't have to take giant leaps. You just have to take one step at a time. And over time, those steps will lead you to where you want to be. Another thing that will help you on this journey is setting clear, actionable goals. You need to know where you're going. You need to have a vision of the person you want to become, and then break it down into actionable steps. What does the best version of yourself look like? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to show up in the world? Once you have that vision, break it down into smaller goals that you can work towards every day. But here's the thing about goals. They need to be flexible. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Things come up. You'll face obstacles. Your path will take unexpected turns. But that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you need to adapt. Being the best version of yourself isn't about rigidly sticking to a plan. It's about being willing to adjust when things don't go the way you thought they would. It's about being open to change and growth. As you work on becoming the best version of yourself, you also have to remember to be kind to yourself. It's easy to be hard on yourself when you're not where you want to be yet. It's easy to get frustrated when things aren't happening fast enough. But remember, this is a journey, not a race. You don't have to have it all figured out today. You just have to keep going. You just have to keep showing up, even on the hard days. And let me tell you, the more you show up for yourself, the more you work on becoming the best version of yourself, the more you'll start to see the results. They might not come overnight. They might not come as fast as you want them to, but they will come. The progress you make is real, even if it doesn't always feel like it in the moment. One of the most rewarding things about becoming the best version of yourself is the confidence that comes with it. When you put in the work, when you show up every day, when you push through the tough times and keep growing, you start to believe in yourself. You start to trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. You start to trust that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. And that confidence doesn't just benefit you. It ripples out into every area of your life. It affects how you show up in your relationships, how you handle challenges, how you approach your work. The more you work on yourself, the more you inspire others to do the same. Becoming the best version of yourself isn't just about you. It's about lifting up everyone around you. So here's the thing. Becoming the best version of yourself is a lifelong journey. It's not a destination, but a process. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. It's about working on yourself, your mindset, your habits, your skills every single day. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up over time. And let me tell you, it's worth it. Because when you look back and see how far you've come, when you realize how much you've grown, you'll be amazed at the person you've become. You'll be proud of the life you've created. Number 8, the truth about overnight success. We've all heard the phrase overnight success, but the reality is far from what most people imagine. When we hear that term, we picture someone who just woke up one day and found themselves at the top of the world, successful, admired, and living the dream. But here's the truth. Overnight success doesn't exist. It's a myth. There's no magic formula that will suddenly catapult you to the top. Real success takes time. It takes hard work. It takes dedication. And more often than not, it takes failure before you find that true breakthrough. So why do we get so hung up on the idea of overnight success? Why do we expect things to happen fast? And when they don't, we feel discouraged. It's because we live in a world of instant gratification. We're used to things happening quickly. We can order food, get information, and even make purchases with just a few clicks. We expect success to be the same way, quick and easy. But when we don't see instant results, we think something's wrong. We think we're failing, but that's far from the truth. In fact, it's in those moments of struggle, those moments of frustration and doubt, that we're actually making progress. Think about it for a second. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have everything you want, didn't get there overnight. They didn't wake up with everything they have now. They spent years, sometimes decades, working on their craft. They made mistakes. They faced setbacks. They questioned themselves just like you have. But the difference is they kept going. They didn't quit when it got hard. They didn't give up because it wasn't happening as fast as they wanted. They stuck with it. They trusted the process. And that's the key. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent effort, day in and day out. It's the small actions you take every day, even when you don't see immediate results, that lead to the big wins. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see progress right away. But the truth is, progress is happening even when you can't see it. You have to understand that growth isn't always visible in the moment. Sometimes it's happening behind the scenes. The work you're putting in, the sacrifices you're making, the lessons you're learning, they're all building the foundation for something greater. But it takes time. It's a gradual process. And just because you don't see results today doesn't mean they won't show up tomorrow or next week or next year. Think about any successful person you know, whether they're an entrepreneur, an athlete, a musician, or anyone who's achieved something meaningful in their life. The road to their success wasn't easy. They faced challenges. They had to push through difficult times. They had to deal with failures, setbacks, and doubts. But what kept them going was the understanding that success is not a destination. It's a journey. It's about the process. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere. But here's the thing. Success doesn't just happen because you put in the work. It's also about believing in yourself and staying focused on your goals. It's about keeping that vision alive, even when things aren't going as planned. It's about staying committed to your dreams, even when they seem far out of reach. You see, when we focus too much on the destination, on the end result, we forget to enjoy the journey. We forget that the journey itself is where the growth happens. The challenges, the failures, the lessons, that's where the real growth takes place. So let's stop measuring our success based on how fast we're going or how quickly things happen. Success is about persistence. It's about consistency. It's about not giving up when it gets tough. You don't need an overnight breakthrough to succeed. You need steady, consistent progress. You need to be willing to do the work day after day, even when it feels like nothing's happening. Because the truth is, something is always happening. I want you to understand this. Overnight success is a myth, but steady, sustained success is real, and it's within your reach. It doesn't matter where you are right now or how long it's been since you started. What matters is that you keep going. What matters is that you continue to believe in yourself, even when things aren't moving as fast as you want them to. Keep taking those small steps. Keep doing the work. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep improving. Because one day when you look back, you'll realize how far you've come. You'll see that all those small steps added up to something big. You'll see that the journey itself was just as valuable as the destination. And you'll understand that success wasn't about some magical overnight moment. It was about the steady progress you made, day in and day out, that got you where you are. Number 9, the joy of being yourself. There is something truly powerful about being yourself. It's a concept that sounds simple, but for many of us, it's one of the hardest things to really embrace. For years, I struggled with this. I spent so much time trying to be what other people expected me to be. I wanted to fit in, to belong, to be accepted. I thought I had to mold myself into someone I wasn't in order to be successful, to be liked, to be happy. But over time, I realized that the key to living a fulfilling life isn't about trying to fit into someone else's mold. It's about being unapologetically, authentically yourself. And the joy that comes from that is life-changing. You see, when you're constantly trying to be someone else, you lose touch with who you really are. You forget what makes you unique, what makes you special. You start living for other people's approval, and in doing so, you forget to live for yourself. But when you finally decide to stop pretending and start being yourself, that's when everything changes. That's when you step into your true power. It's not an easy shift to make. The pressure to conform is real. We live in a world where we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, where we feel like we have to measure up to someone else's standards. Whether it's on social media, in our careers, or in our relationships, we're often looking around trying to see where we fit, trying to figure out if we're enough, and it's exhausting. Because here's the truth. No matter how hard you try, you will never be happy living someone else's life. You'll never feel truly fulfilled if you're not living authentically. When you finally embrace who you are, without apologies, that's when you start to experience true joy. It's the joy of knowing that you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You can show up as you are, and that is enough. The moment you realize that, you free yourself from so many of the expectations and pressures that have been weighing you down. You no longer have to measure your worth based on someone else's opinion of you. You stop worrying about how others see you and start focusing on how you see yourself. And that is incredibly liberating. But let's be real for a second. Embracing yourself isn't about saying, I'm perfect and everyone else can deal with it. It's about accepting your flaws, your quirks, your imperfections, and understanding that they are part of what makes you who you are. No one is perfect, and that's okay. It's those little imperfections that make us human. It's the mistakes, the failures, the things we wish we could change. That's what gives us character. And when you embrace all of that, you start to realize that it's what makes you unique. It's what sets you apart from everyone else. And that's something to be proud of. The joy of being yourself comes from stepping into your truth, from living in alignment with your values and your purpose. It's about saying yes to the things that light you up and no to the things that drain you. It's about surrounding yourself with people who accept you for who you are, not who they want you to be. And it's about doing the things that make you feel alive, not because you think you should, but because you genuinely want to. But like anything worthwhile, this kind of change takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a process of self-discovery, of peeling back the layers of conditioning and expectation that have been placed on you over the years. And it's not always easy. There will be moments of doubt. There will be times when you second-guess yourself. There will be times when you feel like you don't quite fit in. But that's okay. It's all part of the process. The more you embrace who you are, the easier it becomes to trust yourself, to trust your instincts, and to trust the journey you're on. You'll also start to attract the right people into your life. When you show up as your authentic self, you create space for others to do the same. You stop attracting people who are just looking for a version of you that they can control or mold. Instead, you start attracting people who appreciate you for who you truly are. The real, unfiltered version of you. And those relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic relationships, or professional relationships, will be deeper, more meaningful, and more fulfilling, because they're built on a foundation of honesty and authenticity. And here's something that may surprise you. When you start being yourself, you become more attractive. Not just in the physical sense, but in every way. There's an energy that comes from being authentic, a magnetism that draws people in. When you stop pretending and start living in alignment with your true self, you exude a confidence that is contagious. You stop worrying about being perfect, and instead you focus on being real. And that's when people start to notice you, not because you're trying to be someone you're not, but because you're owning who you are, flaws and all. The joy of being yourself also means you stop wasting energy on trying to please everyone. You realize that you can't make everyone happy, and that's perfectly fine. The only person you need to make happy is yourself. When you stop trying to meet everyone else's expectations, you free up so much of your energy and mental space. You stop living in fear of judgment, and you start living in freedom. You stop overthinking, and you start enjoying the present moment. You stop pretending to be someone you're not, and you start embracing the person you truly are. But let me be clear, being yourself doesn't mean being complacent or settling for less than you deserve. It doesn't mean you stop growing, stop evolving, or stop striving for greatness. It just means you do all of that while staying true to who you are. It means you set goals and work toward them, but you do it in a way that aligns with your values, your passions, and your purpose. It means you create a life that feels right to you, not based on what society tells you it should look like. When you start living authentically, you create a life that's more meaningful, more fulfilling, and more joyful. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for yourself. You stop comparing yourself to others and start focusing on your own journey. You stop feeling like you're not enough and start realizing that you are more than enough, just as you are. And let me tell you, that kind of freedom is priceless. It's a feeling that can't be replicated by any amount of success or validation from the outside world. When you finally give yourself permission to be yourself, you tap into a power that's been inside you all along. You realize that you don't need to pretend to be anything or anyone else. You are enough. And when you embrace that truth, the joy that comes with it will fill every corner of your life. Number 10, the secret to inner peace. There's something that everyone craves, something we all long for deep down in our hearts. It's something that can make the toughest days feel easier, and the happiest days feel even brighter. It's peace, inner peace, true, deep peace that comes from within, from a place where nothing on the outside can disturb you. It's a state where you can look at life, with all its challenges and unpredictabilities, and still feel calm, grounded, and secure. It's a feeling of contentment that isn't swayed by circumstances. And the beauty of it is that it's not a fleeting emotion. It's a state of being that can stay with you, regardless of what's happening around you. You've probably had moments where you felt a sense of peace, moments when everything just seemed right, when everything fell into place, even if only for a few seconds. Maybe it was during a quiet morning, sitting with a cup of coffee, just watching the world wake up. Or maybe it was when you accomplished something meaningful, and for a brief moment you were completely satisfied with where you were. You felt whole, at peace. But those moments are often temporary, aren't they? You go about your day, and before long you're caught up in the rush, the noise, the distractions, and that peace slips away. But I'm here to tell you that inner peace isn't something you find in the calm moments, in the perfect circumstances, or in the absence of problems. It's something you can create within yourself. It's something you can nurture and cultivate every single day, no matter what life throws your way. True inner peace doesn't come from external sources. It comes from the inside. It's a mindset. It's a way of being that allows you to maintain your center, no matter how chaotic or unpredictable life becomes. The world today makes it incredibly easy to lose your peace. Everywhere you turn, there's noise. People are talking, arguing, comparing, competing. Social media shows you everyone else's highlight reel, and you start wondering why your life doesn't look as good. The news is full of bad stories, fueling fear and anxiety, and it's easy to get caught up in all of it. It's easy to let the noise drown out your peace. But here's the thing. You don't need to let the world's chaos steal your calm. You don't have to let the distractions, the stress, or the comparisons take away your inner peace. One of the most important things you can do for yourself is to learn how to quiet your mind. We live in a world where our minds are constantly racing. There's always something to think about, something to worry about, something to plan for, and it can feel overwhelming. But peace begins when you take control of your thoughts. You don't have to let them control you. You don't have to let your mind be a constant source of noise. You can train yourself to slow down, to calm your mind, and to focus on what matters most. This doesn't happen overnight, of course. It takes practice. It takes intention. But the more you practice quieting your mind, the easier it becomes. You can start by simply taking a moment each day to breathe. Just breathe. Sit in silence for a few minutes. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Notice how your body feels. Let go of any tension you're holding. In that moment, there's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. It's just you and your breath. And that's enough. That's peace. As you begin to make space for peace in your life, you'll start to notice how much power you have over your own mind. The more you practice stillness, the more you'll start to recognize the thoughts that don't serve you. You'll begin to notice when you're getting caught up in worry or stress, and you'll be able to let those thoughts go. Instead of letting your mind spiral out of control, you'll learn to redirect your focus. And this is incredibly empowering, because it means you no longer have to be a victim of your circumstances. You can choose how you respond to life. You can choose to respond with peace. Another key to inner peace is acceptance. So often we resist what is happening in our lives. We wish things were different. We wish people were different. We wish we could control the outcome. But the truth is, we can't control everything. Life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable. But when we fight against reality, we create more stress, more frustration, and more inner conflict. But when we accept what is, we create space for peace. We stop trying to force things to be different, And instead, we learn to flow with what is. We accept the challenges. We accept the imperfections. We accept the things we can't change. And in that acceptance, we find peace. This doesn't mean that we stop striving for better, or that we become passive. It doesn't mean we stop setting goals or working hard to improve our lives. It simply means that we stop fighting against reality. We stop resisting what's happening right now. We stop wishing for things to be different. We accept the present moment as it is, knowing that we can still take action toward what we want without getting caught up in frustration. Forgiveness is another powerful practice that can bring peace into your life. Holding on to anger, resentment, or hurt from the past is like carrying a heavy weight around with you all the time. It weighs you down, it takes away your energy, it takes away your peace. But when you choose to forgive, you free yourself from that burden. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else's behavior. It's about releasing yourself from the grip of anger and hurt. It's about letting go of the past so that you can move forward with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. Forgiveness is one of the most freeing things you can do for yourself, and it's one of the quickest ways to reclaim your peace. And finally, let's talk about letting go of the need for control. One of the biggest sources of stress and anxiety in our lives is the need to control everything. We want to control how others think, how things unfold, how our lives turn out. But control is an illusion. You can't control everything, no matter how hard you try. And when you try, you only create more stress for yourself. But when you let go of the need for control, you create room for peace. You allow life to unfold as it will, without trying to manipulate the outcome. You trust that things will work out as they should, and you trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. The key to inner peace is really about letting go of the things you can't control, and focusing on the things you can. Your mindset, your actions, and your responses. You have the power to create peace within yourself, no matter what's going on around you. It's a choice, it's a practice, and it's worth it. Because when you find peace within yourself, nothing on the outside can take it away. You'll be able to face life's challenges with calm and clarity. You'll be able to enjoy the good moments even more, because you're not distracted by anxiety or fear. You'll be able to live fully, without constantly worrying about what might go wrong. Peace isn't something you have to search for. It's something you can create. It's always there, just beneath the surface, waiting for you to tap into it. So take a deep breath, let go of the noise, let go of the stress, let go of the need to control everything, and choose peace. Because when you find peace within yourself, you unlock the door to a life that is calm, centered, and truly fulfilling.